Dearly beloved, we have gathered here today to get through this thing called Mix CD. My name is Mike, part of the SPDM crew, and I love making Mix CDs. Each week, we give our guests a theme and an 80-minute time limit for which songs they're going to pick for their Mix CD. This week, I'm going to be talking about artists that I'm not really a huge fan. This week, I'm going to be talking about artists that I'm not a huge fan of. And what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to kind of reframe this conversation a little bit and say these are the artists that if I have an entry point for them, then I think I could get into their music, but I just need more. But these are artists that I'm not really a huge fan of, and I hope one day maybe I will be, but for right now, I'm just not a huge fan of. And these are the songs that I actually like by these artists, but overall it's just kind of like a one and done type of thing. These are my opinions, so please give me all the shit that you can. I get it. I totally deserve it. But here are some of the bands and kind of songs that I'm just not a huge, excuse me, not just a huge fan of, and we'll go from there. So, number one on my list, Pearl Jam. I feel like I'm committing a crime because I'm from Chicago or the Chicagoland area, so I feel like I'm contractually obligated to be a Pearl Jam fan. But I do like the song Even Flow, so there's that at least. I am not a huge fan of Dave Matthews Band, and I think a major reason because of that is being in college and my fraternity with a bunch of potheads and such. So I picked Crash Into Me by Dave Matthews Band. Smashing Pumpkins, again, the Chicago thing. I feel like I'm committing a crime, but I do like the song Cherub Rock from the Smashing Pumpkins. I'm not a Coldplay fan, just not my jam. Viva La Vida, though, I do like that song, so I will give it a little bit of credit. Here's a couple songs that I'm just like I get the appeal, but not just quite for me. So I got Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor, Runaway Train by Soul Asylum, Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve, and Cotton Eye Joe by Rednecks. Just as somebody who loves country line dancing, and I would consider myself a country music fan, I feel like Cotton Eye Joe is just lowest common denominator. I'm not a huge Barry Manilow fan. Again, maybe it's just a matter of just finding the right entry point. But Copacabana, I feel like that's low hanging fruit, but it is what it is. Kid Rock, Kid Rock goes in a pile, and this is probably one that I'm gonna do at some point. But these are artists that separate art from the man, but I did like very early Kid Rock. I like Bob with the Bob or Bob with the Bob because that was just kind of a bop that was on TRL that it was hilarious. And he kind of was one of the people who showed the way for a lot of people that, like, hey, you could go into country music and you'll be in pretty good shape. Speaking of country artists, this is kind of a two for one. I've got Toby Keith and Willie Nelson. Um, Beer for my horses. Toby Keith is perfectly fine from a country music standpoint, just not my jam. Willie Nelson, kind of another one where I'm just like, it's fine, I guess. I got Plain White Tees, Hey There Delilah. I can't stand this song because it was overplayed to death, but Hey There Delilah is perfectly fine. Here's going to be a couple that I think are going to make people a little mad, but I'm being vulnerable here, so just go with me on this. Neil Diamond, I I don't get it. I'm just not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of Neil Diamond, but I picked Sweet Caroline because again, it's just his most popular song, even though it is a little bit of a creepy song. Starship, again, just another one that I'm like, fine with this. So I picked We Built the City. Um, Not a huge fan of the Mamas and the Papas, so California Dreamin' is on here. This is the one. These next two are ones that like am I really not a huge fan of either of these? And if I really thought about it, yeah, I'm just not. So I have Simon and Garfunkel and I have Bob Dylan on here. Simon and Garfunkel, again, I think I just haven't found my entry point for it. So I have Mrs. Robinson, and for Bob Dylan, The Times They Are a Changin'. I saw Complete Unknown and I enjoyed the movie, but I think that solidified for me as like, God, I'm just not a Bob Dylan fan. And the last one, God, I can't stand the song American Pie. I just can't. So I added that on the list here. So those are the artists and songs that I'm just not a huge fan of, and but I could still see the appeal of the art that they put out. Please don't hate me. Well, my friends, the time has come to end this episode of Mix CD. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything SPDM Crew wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website soon to be out at spdmcrew.com. You could follow our playlist on Spotify and Apple Music at Mike Hilty. Shout out to HiFlyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any marketing, logo, or brand standard needs, contact them at highflyercreative.com. If you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, no matter what happens now, you shouldn't be afraid because I know today has been the most perfect day I've ever seen.